Welcome to Last in Line podcast, where we are highlighting, showcasing, and spotlighting great leaders of faith who have overcome adversity, cultivated resilience, and served others in a significant capacity. So settle in and be encouraged by this episode of Last in Line podcast. Gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Josh Norman to Last in Line podcast. Josh works at the University of Oklahoma in the player development department and specifically community engagement for former player relations and current director of S.O.U.L mission for current players, which is an initiative that the head coach, BRENT Venables, brought into the university 2 years ago when he accepted the position and brought on staff members like Josh, who had played at Oklahoma in the past. Josh was a running back from 1998 to 2000 and a wide receiver 2001. Helped the Sooners win a national championship in the year 2000. And Josh has come back to serve, but before that he was in coaching. So he coached high school football. He worked in ministry. He's a native of Midland, Texas, and so Josh has been all over the coaching landscape, and he's also shared something that was pretty surprising about his hobby and passion, and I guess a little bit of a side hustle. He is in the music production business. I don't guess musical is the right term, but he is into music production. He is actually a gifted vocalist as well, I believe. And so Josh surprised me with that one. But what we get into is how this university at Oklahoma, and I know a lot of other universities do this in their athletic department, but specifically Oklahoma has initiated this program called S.O.U.L mission that stands for Serving Our Uncommon Legacy. It gets players to see out into the community the needs that are there, to use their platform in a positive way, to teach them life skills, to show them how to be better men, and to be equipped when they come into the real world of a profession, of a relationship. If they don't make it into the NFL, that gives them an outlet to be able to be useful and create a career. They teach them anywhere from resume writing and interviewing to they all get a custom suit when they come onto campus so that they would be prepared for interviews as well. And there's countless other ways that they serve in the community, but Josh and I talk about that. We talk about his role there and just the vision that the head coach has cast, and everybody's bought in, and they're just building good men, not just good athletes at the University of Oklahoma. So I think you're going to be blessed by this. I think you're going to enjoy Josh's perspective. More importantly, you're going to hear his heart for faith, for his love of Jesus, and how he incorporates that in all he does. So welcome with me, Josh Norman, to Last in Line podcast. Josh Norman, man, welcome to Last in Line podcast. Great to have you.
Glad to be here, man. I appreciate you for having me on.
Well, I mean, it's awesome how stuff comes together and people connect. And I grew up in Oklahoma. I'm a big OU fan, and a lot of the guys I listen to are football fans, but I have a lot of like Southeast Conference guys, which applies to us next year. But then I've got some Oklahoma, North Texas guys. But I say all that to say I listen to the Oklahoma radio station. This is for the listeners that don't know why I'm having Josh Norman on. You'll soon find out.
But like, who is this?
Well, you'll appreciate it if you don't know who he is. But so the voice of the Sooners, and wherever you live, if you're a football fan in college, you know the voice on the radio of the team. They're usually a pretty good personality, a big name, and everybody knows them. Well, Toby Rowland has been on the show, our podcast last year, and he's the voice of the Sooners, and he's amazing. Well, I reached out to him and was asking a couple questions, and he said, you might want to talk to Josh Norman. He is involved in this big time program, initiative, mission that the players have because of Coach BRENT Venables. And so I reached out to Josh, and here we are, man. We're going to talk about faith. We're going to talk about football, of course. We're going to talk about what's called at the University of Oklahoma as the S.O.U.L mission, S-O-U-L, and he's going to go into some of that. But before we do that, Josh, let me ask you this real quick. And I don't know how many podcasts you do. I don't know how many interviews you do. I heard you on the radio with Toby a couple of weeks ago. But give me, man, just tell me what you hope guys might walk away with from a message that you might have. Like, what do you hope you maybe overhear if you walk by some guys listen to this podcast with you and I? What are you hoping they're talking about?
Well, I think, it really be a couple of things. One would be, to shine a light on the work that we do here at the University of Oklahoma for our student athletes, football student athletes specifically, through the vision of Coach Venables. I think we're doing it as good as anyone in the country when it comes to player development, the programming that we have, and the care and the service that we give to our players, the layers of support that we have around our players. I think we do it better than anyone in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But on a personal note, man, I hope that anyone who hears this, who doesn't know Christ, will come to know Christ, and those who do know Him will want to grow closer to Him. That's anytime I have a platform and the opportunity to share with someone, it's like, man, I could give you all of these great insights and quotes from all of these great wise men and women, but ultimately it's all pointless if it's not pointing you to Christ and salvation for eternity. And so I always try to make sure that if somebody asks me a very pointed question like that, that's really what I want everybody to know, man, is that there's life and there's hope in Christ.
Yes, sir. Well, we are all singing from the same hymnal, so to speak, here at this podcast. And so you're right at home. And yeah, we're just glad to have you. I know it's a day before a big game and a home game, and the Sooners are having a pretty special season. And even beyond the field, I think they're doing some really great things that I want to talk more about later too. But just got off of a big win of our perennial rival, Texas, and I live in Houston, so you can imagine how refreshing that was for me to watch, especially after last year, what happened there. So we're floating on air up in Norman, Oklahoma, I can imagine, but the work's not done. We're not even close to done. So
we ain't floating on there, man. We got our feet firmly in the ground and taking one step at a time, one day at a time.
There you go. I mean, there's the standard football answer. I don't blame you. I mean, that's how we do it, man. One day at a time, one snap at a time.
No question.
Man, okay. So we're going to fill in the blanks here. I call this the life sentence. So you're going to complete the sentence that I have for you.
Okay.
Start with, there's only 3 or 4 here, and they're really pretty light. So no pressure. All right. First one. My dream as a kid was to
play in the NFL. That's easy.
All right.
Yeah.
You did play in the NFL, did you not?
I did. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Yeah, I did. And,
who'd you play for?
Played for the San Diego Chargers and Oakland Raiders. And it was literally a dream come true. Like,
that's so cool.
Like since I was like 5 or 6 years old, that was the one thing that I wanted to do. So,
did you grow up out west, or are you an Oklahoma kid?
Yeah, no, I'm a West Texas boy. Grew up
born
and raised in Midland, Texas.
Oh yeah, did you go to Midland Lee?
I did. Yeah,
that's right. Okay, all right. Yep. I thought I saw that. Okay, big time.
Formerly known as Midland Lee.
Okay. Well, all right. So you were drinking. So then everything else was just you're playing with house money. You already accomplished your life dream, and man, that's pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, I wish we had a S.O.U.L mission when I was in school, because it would have helped me have a better perspective. But
okay,
but yeah, from a child, that's what I wanted to do.
Eyes on your own paper, Josh, because you just led me into my second one here.
Yes, sir.
Here you go. In college, I wish I would have
had S.O.U.L mission. Like, and I know, we'll dive deeper into what Soul Mission is, but I mean, when I tell you that, um, the things that we provide for our guys are things that would have helped me in so many different areas of my life. And I'm just, if I'm being honest, at 43 years old, I look back and look at my time in the NFL, and I was blessed to have that opportunity. But truth is, when I was a 21-year-old rookie, I was not prepared. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
prepared. I wasn't prepared to be a professional. I wasn't prepared to handle the pressures. I wasn't prepared to handle my finances in the right way. And so, I just like Soul Mission would have at least given me a foundation to be able to better handle myself at that level.
Yeah. Yeah. And uh, I mean, I can imagine. I don't know exactly what you guys, if you have a challenge, just like every other state funded institution, with bringing in faith and spirituality. I know you can offer it and it's not mandatory. And so whoever wants it can get it. Was it a challenge for you? I mean, I know you played at OU and they didn't have this particular program, but what was it a challenge in the faith department? Did you grow up a Christian? Like,
Yeah, no, I grew up in a Christian household, Christian values, Christian leadership. My dad and my mother, although they were divorced when I was a young child, 8 years old, but they both poured that into my life. And then even here, like there was a great um, Christian support system around through FCA and through Bible studies and different local churches that I was involved with. And a lot of my friends to this day, were built through those relationships.
mm-hmm.
And so that wasn't necessarily a huge issue for me, but it was more of just how to handle being an adult, just
Yeah.
everyday life skills that you have from, managing, and the truth is like NFL is a different beast, man. It's not like, coming out of college and going into, some entry level position. Like it's just a different animal in how you have to conduct yourself and the responsibilities and the demands and the pressures. And I was young and I just was not ready. I didn't have the skills to handle everything that was being thrown at me at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
I had the ability, had the talent,
Mm-hmm.
but those other skills I just hadn't developed yet. And so,
Yeah. And
but
I wonder how much, wasted talent is out there because of that. I wonder how many guys get in, especially when they're coming in even maybe younger than 22 or 23. They
yeah,
come in the league and they barely know how to tie their shoes at that point, and they're, with all that pressure. So yeah, I can imagine there's a lot that fall off that you're like, whatever happened to him? And then,
yeah,
because you hear about them in college and they're just elite, and then
yeah,
you just thought they fall off the face of the earth. Okay, give me a 1B though. I know that's your biased answer. You wish you would have had Soul Mission. That was 1A.
yeah,
So what's 1B on that answer? What do you wish you would have had in college? Maybe if it's from a resource standpoint, a discipler. I mean, I know FCA is big on campus, but did you have
yeah.
something you wish you had more, maybe along the lines of something like that?
Yeah, I mean, like that was not a biased answer. Like that was a legitimate answer. That
Yeah.
now, granted, before I had this job of working with Soul Mission, before there was a Soul Mission,
Mm-hmm.
I would have said all of those things that Soul Mission does.
Okay.
Like I wish I would
Okay.
have had this type of structure. I wish I would have had somebody to teach me, about finances. I wish I would have had
Yeah.
somebody to teach me about these life skills that you'll need. I wish I would have had somebody to prepare me better on what it would look like to be a professional athlete.
Okay.
Yeah, like all of the things that we're providing for our student athletes are the
That's
things
good.
that I had. Yeah,
No, that's good, man. No, I mean, there's really, I bet I'm gonna find out more in a minute about when we dig into that more. But I bet that's a common answer that guys are thankful now that are in the program that have it, because if they talk to anybody that didn't have it, I bet you they have the same thing, that same answer you have. All right. So how about this one?
Yeah, just
Oh, go ahead.
on that, like part of my responsibility in the position that I'm in now is former player relations, and
Mm,
all of them, they always tell me, and I'm talking about guys from, as late as the 50s all the way up till guys who graduated in 2021.
mm,
Man, I wish we had a soul mission when I was here, and so like, yeah, we'll dive into it, and
that's
like
a
I
good
said, I
one.
think we're doing it better than anybody in the country.
Well, you played at the time, and it's about time for another one. But you got a ring back when you played, and you played for
Yes,
one of the
sir.
greatest ever, legend Coach Bob Stoops.
Yeah,
How about this one? Finish the sentence here. The best part about playing for Coach Stoops was.
winning the championship.
No, you can't say that.
No, I
Okay,
can't say
what
that.
else?
Uh, the best part about playing for Coach Stoops, um, man, like that's a hard question just because, you know, as a player, there wasn't a whole lot of like interaction with Bob Stoops. You know what I'm saying? You mostly dealt with your position coaches and strength and conditioning coaches. You know what I'm
Mhm,
saying?
mhm,
He was the leader, and obviously he put things in place to run the program. But
mhm.
you know, and so like that's a tough one to answer.
Okay, well, what about this? Let me take it a step further. What do you admire most now that you're kind of removed from that and you still know him and keep in contact? He's still around
Yeah,
the program. What do you
yeah,
admire most about Bob Stoops?
man, just his leadership, man. Sometimes you don't even realize it while you're in it.
Yeah.
But um, one thing I've learned over my years of being from being a player to being a coach, you could tell a lot about, like, I think a lot of people view player coach relationships um, based off of what it looks like when the coach is coaching the player and the player is playing for the coach.
Mm,
But you could tell a lot about that on once the player is no longer there. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? And for me, man, my respect and appreciation for Coach Stoops has grown more over the years, just because he's always picked up the phone. He's always responded to text messages. He's made phone calls for me when I'm applying for certain jobs,
mm.
and he does it for all of his guys. You know what I'm saying? Like all of the guys that play for him, man, he does it for all of them. And so to me, it's a lesson for me. Like I want that type of relationship with the guys that I coach. I want to be, I want to look back and obviously be proud of the things that I did as a coach on the field. But more than anything, the relationships that I've built and the relationships that I've maintained and sustained over the years.
Yeah. No, yeah, I would imagine you get a little bit closer glimpse of who they are as a person after you're not a player for them. Like you said, I think
Absolutely.
that makes a lot of sense. Okay, last one here, and then we'll dive in, man. My prayer for this generation of collegiate student athlete is.
Mm, God dang, it's a long list.
General
um,
terms, I guess, take the pressure off a little.
yeah, man. Honestly, man, my prayer for these student athletes is that they come to know Christ and know Him better. I mean, that's like that, and I'm not just throwing a generic cliche answer.
Yeah.
Like that's really what I feel like, man. And I'm constantly um, challenging myself uh, in this role to do a better job of discipleship and evangelism, and you know,
Mm,
uh, leading these guys and pointing these guys to Christ. I think a lot of times, and it's just natural for us in our daily lives, you know, to apply worldly and man's wisdom.
mhm,
Um, but I think that's the beauty about the position that I'm in now, that we here at So Missionary in, is that once we establish these personal and deep relationships with these guys, we can have those types of conversations with them. And
mhm.
so, just being mindful, being intentional about, about those opportunities is important. And so,
Yeah.
my prayer is that they will come to know Christ if they don't know him. And if they do, that they'll grow closer to him. So that, because, like I said, ultimately, man, like you can have the greatest career in your life. You can, make all of the money you want. You can take care of all your family and stuff. But if you're not in eternity, in glory, man, with the Lord, like what what did
Right.
it even matter, man? So
That's good.
yeah,
That's right. That's good. No, that's awesome. Man, you guys are doing some awesome stuff, like eternal stuff there. Like you're not just winning
um,
games, y'all are pouring into people that are going to change like people's legacy and
yeah,
grandkids of these
yeah,
kids you're coaching. So,
yeah,
all right, well, let's dig in a little bit. Some of your background we touched on. I mean, we talked about your faith a little bit and some, but like coming up to you're in your second year of the role you're in now, right? And
yes,
so
sir.
along the way, you've been a coach, and I think I read you were in music ministry at
Yeah, yeah,
a place up in Oklahoma. Man, take me. That's a different. I mean, that's a kind of a different move from being a Division II college coach, and then or a high school coach, and then in music ministry. So take me through, I guess,
yeah,
just a little bit of you left OU, you went to the league, you came out of the NFL, you started looking for coaching jobs, I imagine. I don't know what. Tell me how that kind of transpired.
yeah. So I guess I'll start back to uh, my childhood. So as a child, I was just always just super intrigued with music and loved music. I'd spend like days just sitting next to a stereo, listening to music, transcribing songs, the lyrics of songs, which led me to writing poetry. And I used to just write poetry as a child. And so when I got to college, I started to learn how to play the piano. I went to this Bible study and this guy was playing the piano, and I just kind of look at his hands to see what he was doing, and then I'd go and practice it, and I just started learning how to play the piano that way. Well, my junior year, one of my best friends from my childhood, back at home in Midland, had when I went back home to visit one time, he showed me this song, and he was like, "Yeah, look at this, listen to this song I did." I'm like, "What do you mean you did this?" Like, this was back when like we didn't know anything about that. You know what I'm saying? Like studio or music was being
Yeah.
produced in multi-million dollar studios, And so when he told me, and I was like, "What do you mean you made it?" Like, walk me through that, talk me through that. And so he showed me how he produced this song and recorded this song, and I was intrigued. And so I was like, "Man, next time I come back home, I'm gonna have a song ready." And so I took some of the things that I was learning on the piano, and took some skills that I had from writing poetry and wrote a song. And when I went back home, I recorded it, and at that moment, I just fell in love with it. And that was my junior year. The next time I was able to do that was after like my senior year in college. And so when I was able to make it to the NFL and had a little more money with my signing bonus, I bought a bunch of equipment and started
Wow.
to learn how to produce music. And so
Wow.
even when I was playing ball, in the off season and stuff like that, I would just try and learn how to produce music. And so when I was done playing ball, I had, a great foundation of that skill. Um, I'd even opened up a studio back at home in Midland that I was running and stuff like that. And so I moved back to Oklahoma. I was still doing music production, but it was never in a position where I could make a lot of money doing it. So, I got into coaching at the high school level. Here at CCS here in Norman, and had a lot of success as my first head coaching job there. But one day, man, I was just praying, and I felt like God told me He wanted me to just focus on music. And so I walked away from football, and for the next 3 years, I just did music, and I just produced music solely, and produced a lot of albums for a lot of artists here locally, and done a lot of different things over the years for television and film and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And so it's something that I still do to this day, and have a great passion for it, and have done it for a long time. And so something I don't ever see myself putting away anytime soon for sure.
Wow, that's really cool, man. That's stuff you don't know about people. I mean, that's part of why I do this podcast. Like
Yeah,
literally, I make no money on this podcast, but man, the
yeah,
what I gain from it is far beyond that because I'd have never known that, and that's a cool. I
yeah.
mean, I just think that's neat because I write poetry too. I write songs. I've written books, of
Okay,
course, but I've written a couple worship songs that me and our church
awesome.
guy pastor had recorded. But yeah, so I think that's really neat, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Is it Christian genre? I mean, that you're
Yeah,
writing?
so the style wise is mostly, R&B, soul, hip hop,
Cool, cool, cool.
pop type style with Christian messages.
Wow.
But that's one thing that I do. Like I said, I also do music for like television and film,
Okay.
which is just instrumentation music for
Yeah.
television and film. And
Yeah.
then also, so another cool thing when I was still playing in San Diego, like I said, in off season I'd be working on music and stuff. And one time I was working with an artist there in San Diego, and we were just in the studio, just kind of vibing, not doing much. And I just had a thought. I was like, "Hey, man, you think you could write lyrics about LaDainian Tomlinson?" He was like, "Yeah, that's easy." So he got online, looked at his bio, and then incorporated a lot of that stuff from his bio into the lyrics of the song. I produced the music. We recorded it. I gave it to LT, just like, "Hey, look what we did." And he was like, he loved it, and ended up getting played at the stadium during games. And so if he had a big play or scored a
Whoa.
touchdown or whatever, they played the song. And people started hitting him up on his website, like, "Hey, where do we get the song that they're playing
Oh
at the
my
stadium?"
gosh,
I was
really?
just like, I don't know. We just did it for fun. And so from that, I actually developed a product called Champion Anthems. And so over the years, uh, I've done songs for college basketball teams, football teams, high school teams, nonprofit organizations, and then just this year we did the official champion anthems for the Chicago Bears. And so yeah, man, like that's
Dang.
something that I do and love doing.
Dang, dude. You might
Yeah.
want to add that to your bio because when you sent that to me, I don't think that was in there. But that's pretty cool, man. That's
Yeah,
big
so the
time.
Chicago Bears did. Yeah, I probably do need to add the history
That's
of
big
champion
time.
anthems, but the Chicago Bears thing literally just happened within the last month and a half, 2 months, and I hadn't updated that bio since
Let's
then. So
go. All right. Well, I don't know what other secrets are going to come out in this conversation, but man, that's pretty good stuff. I bet there's a lot of people that don't know that about you. Man, okay. Well, you mentioned FCA a minute ago. I've written a couple
mhm.
small group huddle books for the local FCA here. Real close with one of the directors. Was that a person like whoever was the chaplain of the team or with the
Yeah,
FCA guy? Like, was that somebody you looked up to as kind of being a discipleship
yeah.
mentor of sorts? Or I know it's such a big team, big campus. I don't know. Maybe it's hard to do that, but who were some of your spiritual mentors along that time?
No, it definitely was Mike Whitson. He was our FCA director here at OU. Love that man, and he just yeah, he was great for me. And I spent a lot of time with Mike just because I was all over the state speaking at FCA events, and so spent a lot of time on the road with Mike and just hanging out with him, getting to know his family, and so yeah, he was instrumental in my spiritual foundation and as a spiritual leader for me here at OU. I can remember conversations that we had where he was pouring into me, man. Um, Love that dude, man. I hadn't talked to him in some years now, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when I think back to my time in college and the experience that I had here at college, he was a huge part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, and in high school too, the FCA presence has been for a long time, has been a big presence. And I had the girls softball, Patty's FCA
Yeah,
representative, Sarah Roberts on a couple years ago. And when they were starting this trend of three-peat, and back to back and all that. And so this FCA is a big deal for kids, and
no
especially
question.
maybe if they didn't grow up in church, right? I mean, and they just accidentally go to an FCA meeting in college or something, and then all of a sudden they're on fire for Jesus. And so I just
Amen.
love and admire the FCA people and the presence that they have. Um,
Same
Talk,
here.
yeah, talk about maybe some of your, I don't know, heroes coming. I know your dad, you mentioned, was a good spiritual mentor and an example for you. A lot of people I bring on here, if they played a sport, man, their coach was somebody that they really looked up to and spiritually kind of helped guide. Did you have anybody that you sort of were like, man, that's what leadership looks like? Like if you were to try to figure out leadership, because some people don't know how to lead. Some people don't know what servant leadership is. And that's what this podcast is about. So who in your life coming up were you kind of like, man, that dude serves people. He doesn't expect nothing in return. He's a humble guy. Like, was there anybody that kind of fit that bill for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed to have all kinds of people throughout my life like that.
Nice.
One person that comes to mind is my godfather, Van Gravett. He I met Van Gravett when I was a little 6, 7 snotty nosed kid at a church camp, and when my parents got divorced, my dad worked in the oil field and worked 7 days a week, and he actually got custody of us, but he worked on Sundays, and so he wasn't able to take us to church, and so we started Van started picking us up and taking us to church, and grew a very, very strong relationship with him and his wife Cindy, and after years of us being as close as we were, people be like, now who are they? And I couldn't just say friends anymore because they were more than friends.
Yeah.
So I just started claiming them as my godparents. But I mean, here's a great example. I told this story to his sister and his niece a couple of weeks ago. One that just stood out to me. So I went back home to Midland. I was over there visiting Van and Cindy, and we were just talking football because he was a football coach, and so we were talking about football and some of my off-season workouts, and I was telling him about how hard it is dealing with Schmitty and all of this, and I was like, yeah, man. It was one day I was like, man, I missed my alarm, and I was just like, man, I'm not gonna go. I ain't gonna be late. I'm just not gonna go to practice. I'm just gonna deal with the consequences, whatever. And I can't remember exactly how it happened at the time, but I was telling Van about it, and I was just telling him, yeah, when I showed up the next day, I just told him, I lied to him about XYZ. I told him XYZ. I don't even remember what I told him.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looked at me, and the only thing he said was "man of integrity." That was his response. He just looked at me and said, "Man of integrity." I was like, dang. And it just crushed me. Yeah, it's crushed me, dude. I was just like, dang. And that's just always stuck with me, man. Always stuck with me. Just man, you got to be a man of integrity. If you're a man of your word, if you claim yourself to be a Christian, then you have to live that way. And yeah, man. So
that hit you
that's
hard.
the type of it hit me very hard. It's very hard.
So Smitty's still there. So did you ever fess up? Did you ever did you ever ask forgiveness? I'll make sure I send this to Smitty. No,
yeah, I know, right? Dog, man, I love Smitty. Smitty, we good now, man. Don't mess it up.
So for those of you who don't know, he's the strength and conditioning guy at OU, and he is doing something right. I mean,
Legend.
I don't know what they did different last year or two, but I know Coach Venables is just brought a different mindset, man. He's nothing bad to say about anybody that was there before. It's just a different mindset. And you can tell, man, that the landscape and the complexion of that program looks different.
Well, the crazy thing is, man, and I've been able to witness this since being back. We often use the term Schmitty built, right? Because we Schmitty built. And obviously, through his programming and strength and conditioning program, guys are, they're physically fit, they look the part, all of those things. But really, what makes Schmitty special is he is the master mindset guy, period, point blank. He is the best in the world at getting guys to develop the right mindset, period, point blank. Okay, weights and, speed and strength and all, okay, cool. But you ain't gonna find anybody on the planet better than Schmitty at helping develop the mindset and getting the right mindset for these guys to play and perform at a high level at all times. There's nobody better. And that's why he is who he is, because he builds the mind. Like, so when we talk about Schmitty built, we like, now I know it's the mindset. It ain't got
That's
nothing to do with
good.
the body. It's the mindset.
That's so good. Well, all right. So I want to get into Soul Mission, man, and I know we're up against it, and I got about 15 minutes, maybe, if you're generous. All right. So tell me what it is. Just give us a brief kind of, what is Soul Mission? It obviously is an acronym, but tell us how it was developed, why it was developed, who developed that kind of thing, and give us kind of an overview of it.
Yeah, so it was Coach Venable's vision, and he developed it. And, Soul Mission is the player development department for OU football. If you go to any major college football team in the country, every one of them is going to have a player development department. Every single one. Um, Most of them have one, maybe two people heading that up for the football team. We have 5 people on our Soul Mission staff, 4 directors and a coordinator. And the reason I say that is because, I often say that you can tell a lot about people by where they spend their time and where they spend their money. And for Coach Venables to fight for the resources for us to have 5 people with Soul Mission shows that it's a huge priority for them. And so Soul Mission, SOUL is an acronym that stands for Serving Our Uncommon Legacy. And the uncommon part comes from a quote by George Washington Carver that says, when you can do the common things in life in an uncommon way, you'll command the attention of the world. And so when we talk about, our guys having a legacy, and a legacy that lives beyond themselves, we want it to be uncommon. We want them to be uncommon husbands, uncommon fathers, uncommon community leaders, uncommon men that go into the world and making, leave an uncommon legacy. And so, again, this is Coach Venable's vision, that he wanted to make sure that there was a component to this, to his program that added an extra layer of support. In his words, he calls us the front porch of the program. It is extremely important that guys are engaging with these programs that we're doing. There's pretty much 4 pillars of Soul Mission. One of them is community engagement. That's what I do. I'm the director of community engagement and former player relations. And so with the community engagement portion, I work on establishing relationships and partnerships with community organizations to provide our guys opportunities to go serve, whether it's individually or collectively, getting out into the community and serving, having purpose beyond their own self-interest. And so, really challenging.
Talk about the most recent deal that y'all did on the bye week. Yeah.
Yeah. The Build a Bunk program. So, we partnered with 111 Project, who they help mobilize the local church so every child has a family.
Nice.
That's 111 Project.
Nice.
But they're an organization that really is a bridge between the foster system and churches. And so they have a bunk bed program because here in Oklahoma, that's one of the indicators for DHS on removing kids from the home is if every child doesn't have their own bed, and things aren't right, they'll remove the kids from the house. And so having beds, as simple as it may seem, having beds helps families stay together. It helps siblings going through the foster system stay together, and it reunifies families. In order for biological families to regain custody of their children out of the system. And so on average, they probably do about 6 to 10 beds a year, just as needed. And when I've been meeting with Bree Cruz, who's the regional director for 111 Project, for about a year, and she told us about this program, and I was like, absolutely, that's what we're going to do. And we had a very lofty goal to build 250 bunk beds, which would allow 500 kids to have beds across the state. And so, it was a huge endeavor. We tarped the entire indoor field, and we brought in 3 semi trucks full of raw lumber. We had stations set up for building the frame, another station set up building the headboard, another station set up for the rails. We
Yeah.
had a station set up for sanding, and
That's
then
good,
the
man.
station set up for wrapping and loading the truck. And so by the end of the day, we were able to build 326 beds
Dang.
that would be able to go out all across the state of Oklahoma for 326 kids to
Come
have
on.
beds to sleep in
Come
and
on.
to keep families together, to reunite families. It
Wow.
was just an honor for us to be a part of something of
Yeah.
that magnitude.
Well, are the other guys that are involved, are they all former players like yourself?
Yeah, so out of the four directors, three of us are former
Okay.
players.
Okay.
Myself, obviously, Curtis Lofton, who was
Yep.
a All-American linebacker here, went on to
Hmm.
play 9 years in the NFL, was recently named All-Decade Team to the Atlanta Falcons.
Come on.
And then also Caleb Kelly, who was an All-American here. And his story was that, he was a five-star linebacker recruit out of California, came here, started as a freshman, sophomore, junior, was projected to go first round.
Yeah.
In his first senior year, he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
In his second senior year, tore his ACL. In his COVID senior year, tore his ACL again. So he had three ACL injuries that halted his career. However, in that time that he was here, he completed 3 degrees, a bachelor and 2 master's degrees, and so he's a phenomenal
Okay.
individual.
Is that
Uh,
all? Is that all he did? I mean, is
yeah, I
that
know,
all?
right? No,
Wow.
it's
And
a
now
lot
does
more,
his
but
brother, his brother plays there now, doesn't? Does his, is that
no,
it?
that's not his brother.
That's not Jordan's not his brother. Okay. All
No,
right. I
George,
thought he was.
they look like brothers,
I
but
know, I
uh,
know.
if you look
Uh
at the names, Jordan, he has two E's in
okay,
Kelly.
okay.
Yeah,
Man. Okay. Well, he and Rodney Anderson would have a lot to talk about when it comes to like just repetitive
yeah,
injuries and
no
bad luck
question.
in that
Yeah.
department. But so, all right. And then, so the first pillar was community engagement. What are the other three? And we
And
can hit
then
those quick.
former player engagement,
Okay.
player relations rather, is one that I do as well. It's just really just make sure that the former players feel welcomed
Okay.
and that they're connected to the program. We
Yep.
do a few events throughout the year to welcome them back and
Okay.
celebrate them
Cool.
and stuff like that.
Cool.
But then the third pillar would be life skills, and that's Curtis Lofton is over life skills development. It's a really robust program. It involves a lot, starting with financial literacy. When
Mm.
guys come in, we sit down with them. If they don't have a checking account, we get them set up with a checking account. We have our own money coach provided to us by MidFirst Bank, the partnership that we have with MidFirst Bank. Cammie Schaefer is her name, and she comes over twice a week, and she's always on call for the guys. But she sits down with the guys and she helps them, work through their budget. What are your needs? What are your
Mm.
wants? How do you save? And then for the more advanced guys, like I heard her talking to a guy last week who's interested in buying a car. She walks them through that process. Guys who want to learn about investments. She's helped guys, lead them and point them in the right direction to set up a Roth IRA account. And so and then we bring in other people through Curtis's network to teach them
Hmm.
financial literacy and like the more in-depth stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, he also has a Grow You How To program, how to cook a steak, how to make
Mm.
breakfast, how to change a tire, just
That's
simple
good,
life
man.
skills that you need to learn. We partner with
Perfect.
Hal Smith restaurant groups out here. And so in the summer, one day in the summer, we'll go out to Mahogany Steakhouse in Oklahoma City. They'll shut down their restaurant. They'll bring in their top chefs from around the area, and they'll teach guys how to make a steak, how to make jerk chicken, how to make mashed potatoes from scratch, how to make coleslaw. And then another day in the summer, they'll shut down Neighborhood Jam, and they'll teach our guys how to make biscuits from scratch, pancakes from scratch, eggs one-on-one. All of these different types of things they can make for breakfast.
Wow.
And then he also has a Dress for Success program where every year, each one of our players, walk on and scholarship guys, will all get a customized suit. And so, if you got a guy who's been there for 5 years, he'll leave here with 5 custom suits. And this helps him, go into the workplace if he's going to the workplace
Wow.
for interviews, all of that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
then And the fourth pillar is Caleb Kelly's pillar of career and professional development, which really is centered around our micro internship program. The word micro is because it's a 1 week internship program. And so when our guys first get here, Caleb helps them create a resume if they don't already have one, whether they're incoming transfer or incoming freshman. They have to have a resume, and they update it twice a year. And then he builds partnerships with companies and businesses all across the country. And then we do interview prep seminars, teaching these guys, how to prepare for interviews, how to conduct themselves in interviews, how to answer specific questions. And then we bring in all of those businesses 2 days in the spring, and all of our guys will sit down with them, or whoever wants to interview, they can interview with all. I think we brought in 32 or 35 different companies this last year. And these guys spend 2 days interviewing with whoever they want to from those or of those companies. And then those companies, whoever they like, they offer them a paid internship. And then in May, they'll go out for 1 week. We had this last year, we had 42 guys that went out on our micro internship program. We had guys in New York, San Francisco, Atlanta, Denver, Kansas City, Dallas, Oklahoma City, all across the country. We've had guys in Florida and all of that.
That's good.
Internship programs. And so
that's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so,
well, dude, that's awesome. And I think as you're telling me that story, I think those are obviously it's unique. Like, I don't know. I'm sure other programs and do a version, or maybe they just scratch the surface on some of this type of stuff. But
yeah, so man, I mean, I know, I'll give a shout out to Clemson, because they, I ain't gonna say so. Coach Venables,
common denominator, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Coach Venables tells the story of how when he graduated college, he was looking for something, and he didn't have anywhere he could go. He didn't know what he was going to do. He ended up getting the coaching, but he didn't really know. He said so all his coaching career, he's always felt like there was something that schools can do better for their program. And just so I can give a little more time. I got a little more time.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's always felt like there was more that schools could do and programs could do for their athletes to prepare them for life after football. And so he's always been searching. He even says that, he's talked to coaches over the years, and they'd be like, man, I'm just a football coach. I don't know what to do. And so when he was being recruited by Clemson to come out there and be their defensive coordinator, it was also a recruiting weekend for Clemson to recruit players. And the first thing he said when he showed up, and the first meeting that morning, was their version of Soul Mission, which is called Paul Journey. And he said he just broke down in tears, and he was just like, it was like the Holy Spirit was just like speaking to him. And he was like, he always knew that there was more, and that's it. This is it. And so he always knew that if he ever had the opportunity to become a head coach, he would institute something like that. And so that's what he did. Even to the point, John, it's crazy. Story goes, when they offered him the job here at OU, they're like, great. So AD and other people, donors or whoever, fly out to Clemson, South Carolina, land on the tarmac, give him a call. Hey, we're here. We're ready. Like, let's load up. And Coach V was like, great. Now that I have your attention, we got some things that we got to make sure are in place before we solidify this deal. And they're like, yeah, great. We'll figure that out. We got, people waiting back on the tarmac for us. Like, he's like, no, I'm not leaving this house until we get these things done. And the number one thing on that list was Soul Mission.
Come on.
That he made sure that was a part of the resources that they provided him, was so that he can build out Soul Mission.
Well, that's powerful. And that doesn't surprise me, because that dude is a man of conviction, and
no question. Absolutely.
And that dude is he gets it done. And so in relation to, I know it's an NIL game a lot right now with recruiting, but how much do recruits, when they visit, do they get to see of this? Like, this would be a huge selling point if I'm a parent of a kid, of a 5-star, 4-star coming to COU, and I got 5 other schools I'm visiting. if this sets apart, like, is that something y'all show them,
Oh,
kind of an
no question. Yeah,
idea?
absolutely. Yeah,
And is
we're
that a
extremely
big, is
involved.
that a winning, does that win people over? I mean, I know it wins
Absolutely.
parents over.
No question. I mean, players and parents. Um, I mean, coaches, like when he says it, man, he's serious. Like we're the front porch of the program. And so we're extremely involved with recruiting.
Yeah.
Granted, we can't go visit
Yep.
places,
Yep.
but when they come to campus, like we're extremely involved. We always do a presentation, a S.O.U.L mission presentation. We
Nice.
do one-on-one meetings with recruits here on campus to present to them and answer any questions that they have.
Yeah.
Just we're real big. Like Curtis often says, like you go to all of these schools and they're going to tell you how they're going to build men, how they're going to build leadership, or leaders, and how they're going to develop the young men off the field and stuff. And the question is always like, okay, how are you going to do that? Well, we show you, like this is what we are doing. This is what we're actively doing. This is how
Yeah.
we are building
Yeah.
uncommon men. And
That's
so
it.
yeah, we're a huge part of the recruiting
That's
process.
good, man. Because let's be honest. I mean, OU for 2024, the list of recruits, I mean, it's stacked. I mean, there's some big
Yeah.
time elite players that have committed to come there. And dude, I'm excited. And this whole S.O.U.L mission, I don't even know what to call it, this program, this initiative, this just way of life. This is a lifestyle now at the Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma football program. Is this just football, or is this other programs, other sports within the university?
No, we are hired and on staff for the football
Yeah.
program.
But I
Uh,
wonder, are
I-
other sports
yeah,
looking?
so
Yeah.
yeah, no question. Yeah, it's been talked about since we first started of a way to get every school or every sport on campus a S.O.U.L mission, have
Yeah.
some kind of S.O.U.L mission for every sport. And
Yeah.
so it's you
That's
know
good.
we're in talks about I mean obviously it's not necessarily up to us to do that, but we've let them know like, hey, whatever y'all need and any information we can share because
Yeah.
obviously we us being former football players, we care deeply about the football program, but
Mhm.
like we care deeply about humanity. We care
People.
deeply
Yeah.
about student athletes in general. And so if we
Yeah.
can help all of these student athletes with the things we're doing, the programming we're doing, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, man, because truth is, Clemson and other programs, like they're doing these things, like they're doing a lot of these things, this type of programming,
Yeah.
helping guys with financial literacy and
Yeah.
micro internships and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Career and professional development. Like they're doing a lot of it. But I think what separates us from everybody, and again, I don't know what everybody does, but I know what we do, and I know we do it at a high level, is that we serve our players. That's what we do better than anything. We serve our players. That's why we're here, and we are constantly, in the beginning, we were constantly challenged by Coach Venables, and now we constantly remind and challenge ourselves that we're
Mhm.
here to serve these players. Period. Point blank. That could look like early on when we first started, man. Everybody was headed out to practice, and it was almost like one of those things on the movie. My phone starts ringing, and Curtis's phone starts ringing, Caleb's phone starts ringing. We're all getting text messages saying, "Hey, this player, on his way to practice, looked at his phone and found out that his best friend back home was murdered, and he's in this meeting room right now." And obviously, coaches, they got to go to practice and run practice. We were sitting in that meeting room with him, praying with him, consoling him, helping him through that hard time. And like that's when it was like, okay, this is what we're here for.
Yeah.
And other times, like we babysitted players' kids, like, coach, man, I couldn't get a sitter. Like, hey, bring them on, man. I got him. And so, like, when I say that we're here to serve these guys, man, that's what we're here for, is to serve these guys, live life with them, celebrate the good times with them, and help them through the hard times. And so, yeah, I mean,
That's
uh,
real, man. That's
I
real
say that,
world right there.
yeah,
All right. So, dude, I mean, I could talk forever. I mean, anybody in that program, I could sit and talk for hours. But no, I appreciate you coming on. I got one last thing, and it'll be quick. It'll be
yes,
super
sir.
quick, and it just came to me. Give me one word to describe Coach Brent Venables.
I think the word you used earlier, conviction. Like he's like a lot of people like don't get that about it. Like they'll use intensity, they'll use
Yeah,
passion, and he does have all of that. He's
sure.
very intense, he's very passionate, but all of that is driven because of his conviction. Whatever it is, right? Obviously, I know him as a man of faith, and
Yeah.
he often says that everything that he filters his decisions through is what's best for the players, and he means that. Like he means that. He makes very hard decisions based on that filter, and sometimes what's best for the players don't like. Sometimes what's best for the players, administration don't like. But
Yep.
that's what he's going to do.
Yep.
He's going to filter everything through what's best for the players. And even when it comes to the way that he does things, the work that we put in, the way that we do things, he has a deep conviction about the way that he operates and the way that things should look and the way that things should be built, and
Yeah.
he sticks to it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's easy to see that he's got standards and he's firmly planted on the right
Yeah,
foundations, and he's firmly planted, and nothing's going to shake him off that. It's not going to be wavering. And I like that. I mean, it's good. It's nice to be able to count on that in a world today where people are swayed by so many different things in so many different directions. It's nice to have kind of that stability of leadership that y'all have with Coach Venables, and it trickles down to guys like you. And so, I mean, that program's rock solid from top to bottom. So, hey, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you actually, giving me a little extension, a little grace on the time, but it's been awesome having you. Do you have any one kind of last parting shot for the audience today?
No, man, just go you, man.
I go, yeah, that's right. I was gonna say Boomer Sooner, but
I'm always down to throw that out.
okay,
Throw it
there we
down.
go. Horns
Yeah, I'm
down. There you
always down
go.
for that.
All right, man. Show them what your hat says too. I caught a glimpse of that. Oklahoma only fears God. There we go. That's right. And the other part of that sentence is, yeah, I think y'all
Texas
know.
fears
If you
Oklahoma.
know, you know, right? All
Yeah,
right.
right. Exactly.
Audience, he has been Josh Norman. We've been last in line. Be blessed.